welcome to Yankees League the One YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my YouTube channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the red subscribe button down below and turn on the bell icon. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section.
Ghana Member of Parliament Binwell Mpundu is joining us to discuss the petition he has launched against cyber laws. Good morning and welcome to the Diamond Breakfast.
How are you doing today?
Well, okay, how are you doing?
Could be better.
You're highly active. You're highly active is the one thing.
It's very difficult to even establish whether me talking to you is committing a crime under the cyber laws.
and I wanted to.
I do not think it's that serious. I do not think it's that.
It is.
Deep. It's not that deep.
It's very serious. It's actually very serious, Vida. You know, if a law is going to even go to an extent of, you know, stopping you from sharing memes, otherwise it's going to be harassment. It's serious. It's serious, and that's
why your rights end, the rights of another begin. That's all people need to be conscious.
Yeah,
of,
but you see, the very fabric of our existence lies in us communicating.
Unlike you, Honorable Binwell, we got to know about this particular law being enacted on the 8th of April 2025 through an advisory from the US. Quite unfortunate. A lot of people raised concern over that, but some are saying it was signed secretly. Why? Number one. But you have been in Parliament. Obviously, us speaking like this, we acknowledge the fact that maybe you didn't support it when it was being voted into law. But let's just speak into some of your concern around this particular law right now, and as much as we're talking about your petition.
Okay, so first of all, guys, I want to thank you. This is an opportunity for me to be able to speak to these, you know, very contentious issues as we start conversating. The Zambian people, by the way, must know the mobile registration of NRCs is going on. So citizens from 16 years must go and get NRCs, even though that exercise is being done. Like, people are completely mad. You know, you start an exercise as a case of Kitwe. 10 days down the line, the teams haven't gone on the ground because there's no materials. So my appeal to the citizens is that your weapon to deciding who leads you lies in you having an NRC and a voter's card. And the exercise is going on right now. Parents must push their children to get those NRCs. Now, it must be understood from the beginning. The issue of technology is quite new to Africa and Zambia in particular. The issue of social media, because when we speak to the cyberspace, okay, this is a space around which we communicate. If I make a phone call, my words from myself to you will revolve around the cyberspace. Now, because you must understand that when communication technology was, you know, initiated, it was to ease communication, right? Because remember, back in the days, if you had to communicate to your people in the village, you had to write a letter. And it would take so many days. In an event that there's a funeral, very important information, it would really take so much time for that information to reach. So technology came in to try and ease our lives in terms of communication. But you see, when anything new comes in, it is subject to abuse. And phones that were initially meant to ease our communications have been abused. Today, people use phones to, you know, transfer unwanted stuff. You know, people are sharing nude pictures, you know, nude videos, which was not the intention of these phones. Now, because of that abuse, there's need for a law, because why we enact laws is to govern ourselves, to guide our conduct and stuff like that. And so there was a need, there is always a need for us to enact laws that governs our conduct. Otherwise, this society would be ungovernable if we didn't have laws. So because communication was a new thing in terms of you know, phones and social media, there was need for a law that would regulate how we relate with one another via these technology gadgets. Okay, because we found people using these phones to insult others, to defame others, to send, you know, unwanted materials and stuff like that. So there was a need, and that is why the previous government of the PF came up with a decision to enact laws that will regulate how we use, social media, right? But of course you do realize that, or remember that there was so much uproar when this issue came onto the table that the PF were enacting the cyber law. Fast forward, the PF put their foot down and they enacted the 2021 cyber crimes law, one law, okay, which encompassed the cyber laws and cyber security concerns. Now, from 2021, we've actually been using this law, because it must be understood, because there are several conversations going out, say, look, after all, the UPND have just signed what the PF started. Excuse me. So it must be understood, there's actually been a law called the Cyber Crimes Law, which was enacted by the PF from 2021. All right? Which law was to regulate or govern or guide how we use social media. As I've said, you cannot allow communication to just be free for all. There must be regulations. Like Vida says, where my right starts or ends, yours starts. Okay? Now, if you remember the hula balloons that came by way of the announcement of the enactment of these laws, the first people that sang the loudest were the UPND. I remember several times President HH promising the Zambian people, this law is against your rights, your freedoms, okay? It will invade your privacy, it will take away your freedom to express yourselves, your freedom to hold dissenting views, your rights to hold the government accountable. Those were the measurements put on the table as to why we shouldn't have proceeded with this law. Now, down the line from 2021, this law proved to actually be useful to this country. I think that if we were to go on record, how many people are on record having been arrested over the abuse of social media? If you check from 2021 up to date, people have excessively enjoyed social media. People have shared all manner of contents on social media. Nobody has been arrested. Very few, save for those that have contravened the law, those who have insulted. There is a law that will curb, insults. Right? Those who have defamed others, they've been caught outside the law. So contrary to assertions that we are enacting a law to cut off people who are insulting, there's already a law that exists before the 2025 cyber laws that will deal with you if you insulted. That is why people like Waimi found themselves serving a sentence because of insulting. Hate speech, there's a law that deals with hate speech today. That is why people have been in jail, in courts for hate speech. So the 2021 cyber laws provided all the cover you needed to police all those that will contravene or who infringe on your freedoms, your enjoyment of freedoms. Now, the challenge comes in. The very people that objected to the enactment of the 2021 laws, labeling it evil, have come today to enact a much more evil law. Because what the UPND now have done is take the 2021, the PF law, we can call it, and then break it apart, create two sets of laws. They've created the cyber security law and the cyber crimes law. Now, the process of enacting a law must be understood. When government proposes to enact a law, they will draft it, go to the people to consult them. All right? For simple laws that do not require you to amend the constitution, the process is a bit simple. You draft a bill, you take it to the public for consultation, the public will give feedback, and then you take it to parliament for parliamentarians to enact it into a law. This particular law, the cyber security one law, cyber crimes law, the UPND drafted it and took it to the public. When this law, these two sets of bills came to parliament, as usual, you wish to understand. Normally at Parliament, when a bill comes to Parliament, the Speaker will constitute a team, which team will now interrogate that proposal. The interrogation means, let's call all the stakeholders to come and speak to this proposal. They give submissions. Interestingly, the normal process has always been you give it time, 10 days or so. In those 10 days, on a particular day, a committee will sit to interrogate or interact with 3-4 witnesses on a daily basis who will make submissions as to what they think about this proposal. Interestingly, in 2024, somewhere around November, the UPND brought these proposals to Parliament and gave us 2 days, gave the committees 2 days to interact with stakeholders, different stakeholders. You see what? So they basically interacted with 6 stakeholders. A very important law, only 2 days. And they rushed it, brought it to Parliament. I think you remember what happened. Everybody, stakeholders rose and rejected this because people looked at the provisions that were put in these proposed amendments. What happened is that government backed off and withdrew these 2 proposals from Parliament. Now, interestingly, what was raised as the major concerns from in fact, the report that was produced by the Committee of Parliament, the committee itself of Parliament, comprising MPs both from the ruling and opposition. By the way, the 2 committees are both headed by UPND MPs. They both rejected the cyber crimes bill and the cyber security bills, these 2 committees. And the reason for proposing to throw out these bills from Parliament was on the basis that all the stakeholders who appeared rejected this bill. Now, the stakeholders represent the Zambian people, right? All of the stakeholders rejected these 2 proposals on the basis, as an example, that number 1, Article 18.8 of the Constitution defines that for anything to be classified as a crime, there is a benchmark. You must describe it thoroughly that this is a crime. These 2 laws, the crimes that have been prescribed in these 2 propositions, do not reach that benchmark. Starting with the vagueness. The provisions are too vague that you now give power to law enforcement agencies to abuse these laws. So these were some of what was presented as the reason why these 2 laws should not proceed.
So it was pulled out? Did it come back in the same way?
So it was pulled out in the name of we are going to consult stakeholders. Now, the normal procedure could be, if you pull it out, the people who are going to enact it are parliamentarians. When you decide to bring it back, you must now bring it back and suggest, look, we consulted A, B, C, D. All right? The committee must again sit. I think in the normal, because the committee rejected that bill, or those two bills, right? If you bring it back to Parliament, you must take it back to the committee so that, look, guys, these things that you rejected, we have addressed them. Look at this stakeholder we sat with, that stakeholder, they've actually said this now is okay. Fast forward, the government decides to sneak it in, okay, in the last session. Okay, very quietly. The last, for me as an individual, the only thing I saw, it was appearing on another paper a day before us, discussing it in Parliament. As you know, the arrogance of numbers, that those 2 proposed bills comes for second reading. We debate it. I think those who follows parliamentary conversations, you saw how vehemently we argued these 2 propositions. Me and my friend Kangombe, I think we are on record, we did justice. In fact, in my private conversations, I do my videos, TikTok videos, I warn the Zambian people that a monster is coming to Parliament today. Pay attention. I did the same in November. I called media owners, guys, you can't sit. There is a law. By the way, there are many other laws that I have warned the Zambian people that are apparently going to come. I did warn, for instance, when government was attempting to amend the IBA Act, In the IBA Act, government was proposing that they were going to introduce the need for a license for you to broadcast anything. They actually, withdrew that. I know it will come at some point. What that fear was is that for you, Vida, to be able to post or communicate anything video or audio video, if you're going to do a voice note, if you're going to do a video, if you're going to do live stream, you will be expected to get a license. That was what was proposed under the IBA Act. So there are quite a number of laws that are being proposed in an attempt to silence you. So fast forward, Vida, just before I lose my thought. So this law comes to Parliament. Now, these two proposed bills comes to Parliament now in the last session. We have a conversation, but the arrogance of numbers, the Upnd carries the day. They didn't even want to listen to even the little proposition we had by way of amendment, and it goes through a second reading. Third reading, there's nothing much that happens. It goes to the president for assent. Now, the normal process is that when a law or a proposed bill that goes through all the stages of reading in Parliament goes to the president for assent, and the president signs, government must now announce, because at third reading, it's not yet a law until the president assents or signs on that. When the president signs, it now officially becomes a law. But there is a commencement order, meaning that this law is coming into effect tonight or tomorrow or the other day, because some laws requires the establishment of other facilities to make it operational. For instance, they are proposing that there will be an agency. Interestingly, that will be sitting at State House or reporting to the president. Okay, so obviously one would want to think that there should be, first of all, the establishment of this agency that will be able to regulate this law or manage this law, right? So what is the Zambian people were waiting? There will be an announcement when this law is signed into law. These bills are signed into laws. The only thing we heard was from the American government through a memo. If Upnd has actually been passed. Now, that's an ambush on the citizens. Because between you and me, from where we were sitting, the law had not become a law, right? So
it already, perhaps let me come in with my question, Honorable. It already was from 2021. This cyber security so much opposed then by opposition, and you have said on how it proved to be something that we needed, the cyberspace being guided. We needed these laws around the cyberspace. You've admitted that. Here we are. It's just an update that has been made with this act, and you're strongly opposing bringing on how everything will be controlled by State House, and how it is almost an infringement into people's expression, and yes, how we would like to conduct ourselves previously. Now, where are you I'm trying to understand where you have an issue with, what exactly with the update you have a problem with. If this has been in existence since 2021, you say it was okay, we came to understand that these are laws that we needed around the cyberspace. Here we are with an update. So what exactly with the update are you not, that doesn't sit right with you? That's what I would like to understand.
Vida, do not confuse yourself. There are two things we are speaking to, right? There is a 2021 cyber crimes law enacted by the Upnd, and rather the PF. Now, the goodness or badness of a law is measured by the provisions in that law. So you do yourselves a favor to go and look at the 2021 cybersecurity law and look at all the provisions and compare with the provisions that have now been put under these two laws. The cyber crimes put here, the cyber security put here. The apprehension is not that we don't need a law. We actually do need a law to regulate the cyberspace. I must make it very clear. We actually do need, every country today needs the cyber laws. This country has had cyber laws from 2021. Which cyber laws have addressed all major concerns in the use of the cyberspace. The 2021 cyber laws provides for regulation of hateful speech, hateful language, cyberbullying. Everything is provided for in the cyber law of 2021. So we have had sufficient laws that covers you, because
we have gotten that part, Honorable.
Okay.
Perhaps
Now,
what consists of your petition?
So this is where it gets interesting. The apprehension of the 2025 cyber laws is that it has now gone to be more prohibitive to the use of social media. It has put in very vague provisions. Okay, for example, today the state agencies have been given the rights, if they suspect you as Vida that at some point you may commit a crime, the officers may go to the judge, gets an order to intercept your conversations. Now remember, part 2 of our constitution is part 3, speaks to you enjoying your freedoms, the freedom to speak, the freedom to hold an opinion, the right to your privacy. But this law of 2025 gives powers to law enforcement agencies if they suspect, and I want to put it in inverted commas, if they suspect that you commit a crime. Now the crime is too broad to hateful speech is a crime, but who can define hateful speech is a bit tricky. And I refer to the case of the issue of Munia saying the people of Wengwa, or rather Lumezi, are more intelligent than the people of Wengwa. To the government, that is hate speech. Compare and contrast a Minister of Education who says the people of Luapula suffers from mental poverty. That is not hate speech. So you can see. So what this law is saying is that if they suspect that you are going to commit a crime, they can go and get an order from a judge which will allow them to go as far as coming into your premises. The word premise may mean your workplace or your house. They will come into your house, insert gadgets that will intercept your communication. Okay? Now, which gadgets? It may mean a camera, it may mean any recorder. In your house, if law enforcement agencies wanted to come and intercept your communication, they obviously look at where can this person be communicating from. Usually it's your sitting room and your bedroom. So this law is giving powers to the police to come and insert gadgets in your bedroom.
Here's my viewpoint. Before I know you are onto something here. Here's my thing. I'm looking at it from a point of also democracy in general, and I'm saying this because over 60 years down the line, as a country, we have not done well in terms of treating one another as opponents in the political space. But I want to understand how this law, with what you have mentioned, intercepting, if they suspect that you are about to commit a crime, how does this law then particularly hinder democracy? Because one of the things that we have noted for a fact is that there has been heated head on in terms of just opposition and government coming heads on particular issues, one of which many question even the audio that leaked of Kelvin Kaunda. Obviously many people were questioning how that audio leaked, for example, and I'm just giving this a context to the conversation. How does this law then hinder also people like yourself who is in the political space in terms of airing out your opinion and your view on critical matters without them defining whether you're about to commit a crime and putting in all these parameters that you have raised in terms of audio recording, cameras, in order to get whatever they deem to see is directing us to concluding on this particular case matter?
This law completely kills democracy. Because in democracy, we are entitled to assemble ourselves, we are entitled to associate ourselves, meaning in an association we can form a political party. Within a political parties, we communicate, strategies, we communicate, plans on how we are going to win an election. If the government will be empowered to intercept those communications, we are vulnerable. Because at every point when we're trying to communicate with comrades in a political, party, they will intercept our conversations and can use it against us. It kills democracy completely. It kills your freedoms to communicate freely. It kills your rights to privacy. It kills everything. The very fabric of existence, our existence, is the ability to communicate. If anybody takes away your ability, your freedom to communicate, let alone your rights to have some form of privacy, you are dead as a people. If a law is going to propose, as far as the law enforcement agency is going into my bedroom to place a gadget for